Welcome everyone. Today I have my new episode on economics and economical development with IBM TV. So economy playing a very important role in our life. And major issue is that now we are overcoming from the situation of the COVID-19 and the COVID period, all of the economy go shutdowns, but we are taking lot of innovative strategy, lot of different strategy, and we want to overcome from this situation. So from that particular situations, we will learn something about the Indian economy because India has 1.35 billion peoples, as well as even I'm from Malaysia. Malaysia has many interesting initiatives, and we will try to understand the Asia Pacific and South Asian economy and how they are taking initiative, especially for their education, for their healthcare, and especially the innovative startup system. For discussing these issues, I have my friends from India, Mr. Akram, and he is from Policy Times. Please welcome Mr. I want to welcome Mr. Akram.
Thank you.
Also,
Thank you, Sharif.
from IBM TV, you know everybody that we have a very important and brilliant mind. He is Mr. Ankit, and he do lot of strategic things with us. So welcome, Mr. Ankit, and we have our another guest. He will join with us.
Sure.
Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. First of all, I would like to introduce Mr. Akram Haq. And can you please introduce your policy times and other things? Already you are working with the Indians schools, madrasa, education systems, and I know that you have huge amount of schools they are working with you. You are trying to developing their policy. You are trying to developing their technology. What the inner story of these school systems of India? Can you please share with us? And especially, can you please share about your policy time and about you?
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharif. It's really wonderful to be here, and thank you so much for the invite. So, we are a small organization based in New Delhi, the capital of India, and we have started off the venture called the Policy Times. So, to talk about Policy Times, let me start actually talking about the brief about myself. Then I'll come to this. I come from a very remote, or in fact, the remotest place of the country and also of West Bengal, the state in the eastern part of the country. That is called Dakshin Dinajpur. It's a very remote district. From Dakshin Dinajpur to coming to Delhi and traveling across the world itself is a huge journey. So after I came to Delhi, I did my graduation and masters in MBA, like in the business management. After that, I started off working as a journalist. I felt that we had a lot of jobs in the banking sector, but when I thought that what kind of profession should I choose as my first job, somehow I preferred media because I felt that media is one of the most important pillar of democracy. Unfortunately, it doesn't have regulations and it is totally free. So I thought that some important and responsible minds should be there in media to contribute. So as a journalist, when I started working, I used to cover all sort of stories. But I felt that developmental stories or have started making much more attraction to my journalism career than any other news. So somehow I felt that in developing countries or emerging countries or poor countries across the world, developmental journalism should be at the center stage for to set the agenda of the media, because through developmental journalism we can bring out the real core socio-economic challenges that poor, medium or emerging countries or developing countries face. That was the beginning of my career. Then I had an opportunity to teach in a college for 4.5 years, again in the Department of Economics. After that, I again was really fortunate to work with India's largest business chambers. They are called Confederation of Indian Industry and FICCI, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. During the tenure, we did lot of big events, conference, and policy advocacy activities. We did programs for our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. We had or we led many ministerial delegations across the world. Initiatives like Make in India. So we did manage all. After that, again, I was not very happy with the things that I was doing. I thought that there are always limitations in everything we were doing. I was thinking that I need to contribute more. What can I do differently which can contribute in the country? So I had two visions. One, I wanted to make, and even today I want to make that, if I want to teach every Indian the principles of economics, because I believe economics is the most important thing that any Indian or any citizen of the world should learn first. And we should all have a graduate degree in economics. Unfortunately, we can't, but at least we can. We because we in our life every day we use the basic principles of economics, and that's why we can't underestimate this. So my journey is actually to educate every Indian about the principles of economics. Second objective was to develop an organization which becomes a policy voice of the country, but at the same time, in our lifetime, we want to see India as one of the most prosperous nations of the world. So these are the two visions or two missions that I have in my life. I don't know whether we will be able to see India being a developed nation or not, but honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I'm saying that in our lifetime, I have only two missions that every Indian should, by the end of actually our life, that they should know the basic principles of economics and how economics make or influence their lives. Second is, during our lifetime, we want India to be one of the most prosperous nations of the world.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mr. Akram. Thank you, Mr. Akram. I directly want to go to Mr. Ankit because you have experience. You work in India. You have experience from USA, and most importantly, you are also working with IBM TV, and you are making a global channel, right? You have a collaborations with many different cultural people. But my question is that when, example, in South Asia, let's say people from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, even other countries, what's the issue? Why don't we collaborate together culturally? Why don't we engage with more economical activities, more tech savvy activities, more science and innovation issue? Why don't we work together? What's our lackings? What your observation? Because you are engaging with many cultural people. So what your idea on that?
See, so Sharif, I mean, it looks like an interesting question, and then everyone in India or everyone in South Asia, they understand that we have a past, and we have never overcome our past. If you see countries like Germany, countries like European countries, maybe American countries, they have overcome their past, and now they are working as a friend or as a treaty. We are still struggling with what happened in 70 years back, and we are still taking that as a legacy, and we haven't come up with a solution. I, in fact, remember, I think like 5 years back when Bangladesh and India have a treaty about their border disputes and they have come up with a solution. And maybe, children or maybe students of this generation, they will read about it that how they can solve a tedious matter which was pending for past 70 years. And because of all these things, I think that's why we are not able to overcome the situation. And we are just in that bottleneck that we don't have time or we don't have any vision to go and see what's happening in the global world. I think that's the biggest drawback because whenever we travel outside India and when we meet to someone in Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, it's like we are from the same nation. When we meet in US, it's like we are from the same nation. But when we are in South Asia, we always fight either on cricket, either on anything. I mean, so I think if we don't overcome the situation, we won't be able to. Whatever Mr. Akram said, I really appreciate the vision and efforts. But to make that happen, we have to have friendly neighbors and friendly relations, and then we have to work as a team together. We can't just, on the front side and the government side, we are working, but on the back side, I mean, people are not happy or they are struggling. Although whatever we are talking about, there are very few percent of people who are not, who are not friendly or who are creating a lot of nuisance. And you know what I'm trying to say. But the point is that there are a lot of solutions because I think what I understand that our generations or our previous generations they haven't finalized 100% solution. They just let it go, the old issues, and then just talking about the new things. But once we solve all those things, I think then only we can move forward, and that's what I think is the issue between our South Asian countries because we are really brothers, and we can definitely help each other. And you know that in the past 70 years, all the countries of South Asian, they have grown tremendously. We have all the power. In fact, if you talk about any world organization right now, they have South Asians working for them. So education or intelligence was never a problem. The problem is about inner values and strength, which we are not able to respect each other, and we haven't come or maybe overcome the situations of the past. That's what I think is an issue as of now. What do you think?
Yes, yes. Now, thank you. This is actually nice things, but beside that, I have specific things that in South Asia, even I think at the present, we have a major challenges with our healthcare system. We do not have proper healthcare system. So my question is to directly to Mr. Akram, that you are working with policy, you are working with a different chamber of commerce, you are working with education institutions, and you are trying to promote good policy in India, and India has a huge amount of populations. But my question is that in this healthcare system and education system, how we can work together, how we can make a, like Malaysia is an education hub, Malaysia now is a healthcare hub, how we can build in India or Bangladesh or even Pakistan, how in South Asia, how we can build up proper education hub and a good healthcare system. What your advice, what do you think?
Thank you, Dr. Sharif. Actually, very simple and easy question, but actually very difficult to achieve. Because had it been easy, we would have had achieved it by now. Now, when we say that, we all know some basic answers of this, some basic things that we need to do. Number one, and how do we do the collaboration? I'll come to that point also later on. But the first point, why are we not able to develop a better education system, a better healthcare system like the West? Number one, we need a massive amount of public investment and as well as private investment in both health and education sector. So I'm very proud that education is our number one priority sector, healthcare is our number second priority sector, MSMEs is our startups and MSMEs is our number third priority sectors, and fourth is technology. So these are the four sectors we have taken as a priority. And if in any nation, and fifth is definitely infrastructure, sixth is agriculture. So these six sectors, and seventh is foreign trade. So imagine if a nation take care of these seven sectors. As I say, education number one, healthcare number two, MSMEs and startup number three, IT is number four, foreign trade number five, or agriculture number five. Then you have the I said foreign trade. So if you take these all sectors as your priority and you make best among these sectors, you find any nation can dominate the world, or dominate in the sense not a negative connotation, but actually become a prosperous nation. Now coming back to the education, number one, we need to make massive public and private investment. In India, the current amount of GDP contribution to education is just 2.5%. India has introduced the new national economic and national education policy, NEP 2020, we call it. And for the first time in the history of 76 or 77 years, India has committed for 6% GDP contribution towards education, which is still below. We need to see how this is going to be implemented in next 10 to 15 to 20 or 30 years. But my experience and understanding is that any developing or poor country should have 10% minimum GDP contribution towards education. You see the developed countries of the world, America, Europe, China, most of these countries. China, I think, don't have 10% plus. I don't know exact figure of China, but most of the Western countries, I think including Malaysia, they have 10% plus GDP contribution towards education. Any country which wants to be a prosperous nation should have at least 10% GDP contribution in the economy. That is number one. Number two, we need to strengthen and leverage the public education as well as healthcare system. So healthcare, the same point, the first point that I mentioned, the second, for the healthcare sector, it goes same. So we should have at least 5% to 6% GDP contribution in the healthcare sector. Then only, because these are the priority sectors. There is no replacement. And why I say so? Because if the economy, if a nation does not educate its people, if the nation does not or cannot keep its people healthy, there is a huge amount of opportunity lost and economic cost for the nation. And so people of economics will understand the opportunity lost or the opportunity cost we say. For example, India has 1.35 billion population. If India cannot educate half of them are young, believe me, half of them are below, I think 30 years of age. That means India has a perfect demographic dividend that our Prime Minister often says that we need to encash. If we can't educate this half, almost like how many, 500 million population, India will lose such a brilliant opportunity of using such young talent to boost its economy. Now, that needs a massive amount of financial investment, resources investment, and policy planning and policy implementation. The very good part is India makes very nice policy. The very bad part is the implementation of policy often becomes a big issue, and we fail in the implementation. That's why a brilliant policy does not become actually a big success. Now that's point. Number three, what we have to do, we have to develop the public infrastructure. India has a brilliant public healthcare infrastructure as well as public education infrastructure. Like there are millions of schools. If we can make them up to the private sector standard or standard of the global level, you can't imagine India's level. The leapfrogging India will do in the picture is amazing. So that's why Policy Times has taken one initiative that most of the players you see in the industry, whether all the big players who are doing big programs in the education sector, believe me, they are all crazy about private universities, private colleges, and private schools because they give money to them for promotion of their programs. Policy Times decided that we will not follow that route because here it is not about just making some money from private colleges or private universities. We felt that it is time we have to actually develop or refurbish or revive or revamp our public infrastructure, both in healthcare as well as in the schools. So we have started working with all the schools across India, starting from Bengal to Haryana to Rajasthan to Delhi to UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. We are working with these government schools. We are bringing the principles of the government schools in a single in platform discussions like this, and connecting with the national level, international level experts to teach them how to cope up with the COVID crisis, how to provide online education, how to do. No, there are 4 different kind of activities. So our mission is we want to improve the government infrastructure. One experience I had recently, which really made me so upset, was that recently we wanted to do a webinar for students on how to crack NEET. NEET is the MBBS, entrance examination, doctor entrance examination. We tried to reach out to all madrasa schools. Madrasa schools means they are the government schools. Okay, I think some phishing attack.
That's fine. Let's continue the
You just
discussion.
continue. Yes.
Okay, so are we live? Is it going on?
Yes.
We are live.
Okay,
Definitely we are in life.
So government schools. So we reached out to 300 schools, and we realized that out of 300 schools, only 15 schools have science stream at class 12, plus 2, and they have only 5 to 6 students teaching in the government schools. Imagine, out of 300 schools, you have only 15 government schools teaching science, and with a staff or student ratio of just 4 to 5 students. If that is the scenario, now everyone cannot have sent their kids to private schools for science. Now imagine if a government infrastructure is not able to provide science education to the rural kids or government school setup, how can an education system improve? So we came up with a science awareness campaign where we want to provide, we want to do the advocacy that start providing science education in the government schools. Now coming to the point of question that you had, because there are a lot of things to say, so I'm just keeping and coming to the point. We can do immense amount of collaboration with Malaysia, with Western Europe. So now the problem is our education system doesn't fit with the Western infrastructure educational system. Western education system is slightly different, but Asian education system somewhere there are similarities between. So there is immense scope of collaboration between India, Malaysia, India, Bangladesh, India within Singapore, like China. We can also do some collaborations because they have done excellently well in the education sector. Now, how there are four sectors I found that we can collaborate. Number one is teachers training. We need to bring teachers, and we have to start at the primary education level, primary secondary education, because 80% kids drop out after class 12. In India, 80% of this government school students, they drop out, they don't continue education. uh, so they don't continue education after class 12. Okay, Dr. Shekhar is here. So we want to welcome Dr. Shekhar. Thank you so much. If you can go a little back.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, thank you,
Sorry,
Mr.
there's some
Akram.
problem. I have to enter a different mobile, not my mobile.
Okay. No problem. Dr. Shekhar, can you please introduce yourself? And I know that you have engagement with policy, smart cities, and this kind of interesting activities in India, and you have a very good contribution in India. So can you please introduce your expertise as well as yourself with our audience?
You see, I am basically concentrating on national growth as the main theme. Now, when I'm saying national growth, I have written a series of about 95 books on various aspects of national growth. Of course, 11 of them are for other countries, including USA, UK, and so on and so forth. Through these books and my other activities, which I will elaborate in under a few minutes, what I'm trying to bring it, how there could be seamless, self-sustained economy of all the countries. That means how India's economy can grow across various sectors without, seamless self-sustained means government need not put too much money. Where the money will come, I'm trying to explain in the book. Self-sustained means what? Through valuation. Suppose any hardware, any infrastructure is put, it creates huge valuation around the infrastructure. In my concept, I'm telling them how this future valuation can be tapped into creating present infrastructure. This being done for education, healthcare, and actual infrastructure, roads, tourism, and agriculture, and so on and so forth. It is cutting across the board. Now, another thing is because of this, there are funds required. All that we are saying is fund need not be put by the government. It will be put commercially by people who would gain out of it. So this creates a win-win-win situation. An investor makes money, the government makes money, the public may get the infrastructure free, and it is a win situation for the government as such. Government will in fact get more revenues. Now, every government is in deep debt. Through this doctrine, we call it doctrine of secured governance, and the governance itself takes care of the money being generated so that the poverty lines can be picked up. There could be more development, there could be more R&D, and all these things come from the system. And along with the books, I have some web summit along with Akram in terms of policy times. And then there are a lot of committees I am involved in, whether it is education or healthcare or something, where, in fact, world largest project is supposed to be Bombay Nagpur Super Expressway, where 24 smart cities are booked in one stroke. This is supposed to be almost 12 lakh crore project. Okay, this project uses secured governance, where those 24 smart cities will ensure that the super expressway is built with the funds which are coming, and the smart cities is supposed to give almost 20 million new jobs. So this is what is the brief of what done. In fact, in my past, I have set up India's first software technology park, and because of which whole India's economic took a different turn by having a concept of STPA, but that was for government. That concept was government. I was about 5 years in government. So there I put an STPA concept, hardware technology park, software technology park. My forte is how there could be systematic streamlined growth of economics. Yeah, I think.
Yes. Thank you, sir. I directly want to go to Mr. Ankit because you are tech expert. You have a lot of experience and expertise in tech, and you work with around the world. My question is that, how, beside this infrastructure is very important. But beside that, how actually technology can play a role to build a better ecosystem. I want to more focus on South Asia, not only India. Let's say other countries also getting benefit, because every country investing lot of money in technology, but still return of investment is not good. So can you come up with some innovative things which is actually helpful for South Asian economy?
So,
Well,
Sharif, when we talk about technology,
please. Go ahead.
okay, I'll defer to Dr. Sekhar. Dr. Sekhar will take the question.
Okay.
Hello, you're asking some question? No,
Ankit,
your
you
question I
just,
understood. No.
yes,
Your question I understood. He's also asking some question,
yes, yes,
or should
yes,
I
yes,
reply to you?
yes. Dr. Shekhar, please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I thought he was saying asking some other. See, when I'm saying with the word secured governance, it is called techno-economic growth. The word techno-economic is unless technology and economic goes together, the growth will not happen.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yes.
when I'm seeing, no, in fact, in my own profile, I did not elaborate that. I have personally been involved in development of more than 300, IT, security, and other products. Okay. And I am basically a nuclear physicist and plus solid state electronics. I've done my research there. And so technology is my forte. I included economics because technology alone cannot make economics grow. Economics cannot make technology grow. So, in fact, even when I was invited to Washington to make my own this thing for senators, they immediately pointed out that this is something new and this has been missed out in economics, that economic alone cannot grow. So, in my techno-economic screen scenario, what we are saying is, unless suppose there's a road, if the road is built, okay, road alone is a big liability. It takes almost 30 years for the money to come back, basic money, which is the same thing with railways. Now, when I'm saying techno-economics, means what? When the road is built, I plan that because of the road is being built, it will create a lot of values around the road. Economic come in picture. Okay. So when the economic comes in picture, the economics says that, when the road is being built, more than 100 times the values go up around the road. And I'm capturing that economic upgradation of the values to make the road itself free. That means the technical things come as far as the structure is concerned free, and as far as the road is concerned, the road comes for the economic growth. Okay, it's slightly a complicated thing. I don't think it is a thing which I can explain in 1 minute, but I'm trying to do some justice to it. But I'll do justice to it by 2-3 examples. Okay, so let us assume that instead of the road, a big school is coming, a big education institution coming. Now, the education institution, when it comes, it creates huge value. It may be a religious place, it may be a hospital, it may be a tourist spot. Each one creates value, but they themselves suffer. And when I'm saying and then now let me come to hardcore. In secured governance, we have a concept of nano hubs, mini hubs, and hubs. Hubs is major cities. Mini hubs are minimum complexes. Nano hubs are even small inventions. Suppose I am going to invent a small technical portion, a small, software. Okay. Or I may be doing something by which a streamlined system will take place, by which, somebody traveling will have more comfort. Now, these are all nano hubs. Now, around this also, the valuation goes up. Now, when the valuation goes up, you capture the valuation in advance and make the values come out good. I'm involved in a lot of largest education institutions and planning for them how the system can bring in the value. At the same time, huge technologies can grow. Now, you said that, let us talk of Southeast Asian countries. Okay, in fact, I have written a book on Sri Lanka, Burma, and so on and so forth also. Now, when you see these countries, generally they are dubbed as, underdeveloped countries. Okay, first of all, that concept is wrong. Okay. Now, they are developing countries and everybody, including the highly developed countries, are developing. In developing at a various level and layer, depending on their structure. A joke is, many times people say, oh, India is way behind by 25 years from USA, when I was young. Okay. I used to say that, okay, that means 25 years back, USA was an underdeveloped country. No. At the time it was good. I said, same way, today if something you say, it is relative to some other system. Same way, when these countries are developing, they have to develop with respect to their present requirement and their present structure. Instead of dubbing anybody as underdeveloped and this thing, they are all developing, and the speed of development is the one which people like us bring in picture. So now coming to core grassroots, the systems which has to take place is when the development should be as per the needs of the people and the structure. If you are in a remote place, you may not even have Wi-Fi and still you may be developed. If you are in a place which is already come to some level, it is just like, when we go in a vehicle, we get in a traffic jam. Everybody will say, oh, this is not there, that is not there. I generally say this is a sign of prosperity. If there is prosperity, there is so much vehicle means so much jam. The jams are there every part of the world. Same way, from need point of view, these Southeast Asian countries have to make some form of a consortium. Each country has got their own plus point, their own deliverable, which is also I'm working on today with many countries. Okay, so that final product is something which the world is looking for. So that we put the two as the world looks. We don't look at it as if a buyer is great and seller is bad. Both are required for the economy to grow. Okay, so and now with this Chinese thing coming in picture, we have to be all the more abrasive, all the more forward looking, and all the more we have to go faster. It has given unique opportunities for all these countries to grow, because there's a huge vacuum which is coming. Today, nobody wants anything built in China. Of course, at the same time, I'm not the one who wants to destroy China. China also should grow, but they should not be abrasive the way they were doing. They were trying to destroy others, which we should not. But at the same time, we should not destroy them, because then again, we will be reconciled. So we have to see that some of the political pricing they do, which means how much it is sold, please dump it. Okay, those things we should avoid. We should not duplicate Chinese model. We have to duplicate a real model which will go a long way. Okay. So right from a microscopic development to other development, there are a few things about China which is good, which is worth following. What they do, if you have to make a small toy, they say how many millions it can go. They just make that million and close the factory. We are all so sensitive, and so this thing we will just try to make it as a lifelong experience, which is not correct. Okay, a toy also is something, it has got its own lifetime. Everything comes with a lifetime. So we have to ensure that those philosophy which are good, we should follow. And there are others like this political pricing, trying to dump things, trying to destroy somebody else, trying to give 2 rupees and try to buy out the whole country. These are all not something which we have to ever follow it. Last thing, thing which I want to comment upon is Indians. Indians are a highly welcomed commodity throughout the world. Today, there are about 25 million Indians throughout the world. They themselves constitute on economic terms $1 trillion. That means almost 50% of additional India's economy is owned by the Indians. So when these people travel to outside world, one thing good about Indians is they are welcome commodity. And from India's point of view, they are a huge exported commodity. Our 25 million Indians bring back almost $85 billion per annum to the country. And they go well with whichever country. Maybe Cambodia on this side, Sri Lanka on that side, USA on that side, or maybe even in China. Even in China, whether you all know it, I do not know. Many of the hardcore R&D people are basically Indians. Okay, but not all. In China, we constitute far low. Europe also, we constitute low. But we are a welcome commodity. So that advantage we should take and work with all the South Asian countries and see to it that, all of us go together and bring the economy to a different dimension.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Shekhar. I directly want to go to Mr. Ankit. Yes, Ankit, can you add something regarding this tech ecosystems? How actually South Asian countries we working together to build up this tech ecosystem?
What I wanted to say is that everyone is working on the infrastructure and technology, and we are coming up with multiple applications. But the problem is that we are not sharing the right data, and if we don't share the data, we won't be able to do the data analysis, and that is what it requires to optimize your future, basically. So whenever, suppose Dr. Shekhar is mentioning about a lot of, initiatives and structures and all those things, but I'm not sure whether we are sharing a data at what level and how we are utilizing the data to make future applications or future infrastructure in a much more robust manner, which will helpful for the future. Because what happens with our South Asian countries that we plan a lot of plans, we have a lot of policies, we have a lot of money, but there is no policy where we talk about accountability of that policy. So suppose if we are talking about one policy and we have like spent a lot of $1 million and $1 billion to manage and maintain and implement that policy throughout the country, but then no one talks about the accountability because after 1 year we don't know how much we have been put in and what is the success rate and how far we have to go and what are a plan B and plan C. We implement it, everyone takes the credit, and then we move to the next policy. So what happens is that there is no accountability, and when there is no accountability, there is no data sharing, and then when you don't have your data, how will you share the data with the other countries? And I think that's a problem, and it should be solved not with government help but also with private sector as well, because private sector can easily share the data, but because of a lot of government rules and policies and structure like that, they are also hesitant to do that, and once there are big money involved, there are a lot of filters and challenges also to be a part of it. But what I understand is that accountability and data analysis is much more important than what we are talking about infrastructure, because we can have thousands of infrastructure or maybe whatever you want, we can have it. But if you don't work on the analysis part, it won't go at a level where we are trying to do, basically. And then I'll just give you a small example. We have WHO, we have UNICEF, we have UNESCO. Do we have anything for South Asian like healthcare in South Asia? We don't have anything. If you ask about pandemic policy, there is no pandemic organization in the world right now. And this pandemic is going on since like 8-10 months now. It's not possible that there is not another pandemic coming up. Maybe down the line 5 years we have one more pandemic. Are we ready for that? To have a pandemic team, to have a pandemic solution, we have to have a pandemic database or a pandemic dashboard which will be shared within the countries, so that if something happens in India, it should be informed to other countries that this is happening, how you have to take your care, and what are the best possibilities, and what kind of information you have to share. We don't have anything like that. It's more about verbal and political talks, and that's what we are struggling to overcome the situation. But we need to work on those things as well. That's what I think is
Yes.
lacking.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I directly want to go to Mr. Akram. That like still South Asia, we want to say SARC is not active, SAFTA is not a active things. What's the reason behind that? Why actually India is a big powerful country. Definitely in South Asia, they have a huge populations. Even though, example, there is a Pakistan, Bangladesh, even Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka. So why don't we make a more effective like SAFTA, or why we can move like ASEAN, or why don't we move like European Union? What's the reason behind that? Even in COVID situation, we find that South Asia, every country actually suffering. Can we come up with some better idea, or can we do some better negotiation? Can we build a better ecosystem? What's the problem we have?
Brilliant question, actually. And I think if you can explore, if you can achieve on this ground, I think South Asia will be one of the hotbed for investment and economic prosperity. I'll tell you first couple of points why, and then I'll come to solutions. Number one is the Kashmir and Pakistan issue. Kashmir issue is almost like solved, but we need to wait for a couple of more years to actually resolve it. Pakistan was a major problem because of the political tensions and political differences between India and Pakistan. That was the only reason, and indirect and direct interference of China, because China since long wanted to come to be part of SARC. Pakistan was pushing China to be part of it, but somehow India is not willing to have China in this, because China is not part of South Asia. So this was another politics which was happening from the behind. Now, South Asia we need to develop, whether today or tomorrow, for many reasons. And you very nicely and rightly mentioned that there are two great examples before the world for regional integration. One is ASEAN. ASEAN is an absolute example of such a beautiful economic union. European Union was even a better example than ASEAN, but ASEAN recently emerged as a better option. Third is also NAFTA, like North American or SAFTA between the Canada and US, the treaty they have. That is also a wonderful one. Now, why are they success? Why is not India? There are many reasons behind this, but the political being the number one. The other is resource and the vision of the region, because we lack vision. We never put economy as our priority. We always put politics and small petty issues as our priority of this society. But West America, they keep the economic, or China. You go to China, economy is the prime priority. They don't care about anything else as long as it gives benefit to them economically. Number one, what we need to do with the economically, regionally, South Asia is not integrated. The regional trade between India and South Asian countries is very poor compared to ASEAN. Now, why ASEAN is a success? ASEAN is a success because the countries are small, they are very small economies, and they complement each other. They are not competitors to each other. Singapore is a financial hub. Vietnam is a slightly manufacturing hub. The other countries, Indonesia provides a different advantage. Malaysia provides a different advantage. So different country brings a different competitive advantage in the entire ecosystem. In South Asia, the issue is in India is the largest economy. All other countries are small. So India has beautiful relation with two countries, especially Bangladesh and Nepal. So India has very good relations between these two. But unfortunately, the relation with other countries are not that good, including Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and these countries. Now, what I want to say, first thing that we need to have is absolute borderless trade between the South Asian countries. There should be no border, just like the Europe or ASEAN. That is one we have to dream of. The second is economic, unification or union. We should make a South Asian union where there is zero informal trade. The biggest trade, we say that Pakistan is our enemy or China is our enemy. We don't want to buy or sell products from China. If you see the data with Pakistan, we have $3 billion informal trade. Informal means which doesn't happen in the legal framework. This $3 billion trade and more is not under the bracket of tax bracket or under the purview of Indian tax. Imagine if you can trap that, or with China also, we have a huge amount of trade. So I'm leaving China. Imagine when we have borderless trade between Bangladesh, between Sri Lanka, between Maldives, between Nepal, between Bhutan. It is such a beautiful region to explore. Now, we need to explore zero informal trade. So what the second point that I want to say, that there should be no informal, illegal, or secret trade between these countries. The third thing that we need to explore is the complementarities. Bangladesh has strength in textile sector. Let us make Bangladesh as a better destination for textile. Let us complement to each other. Nepal or Bhutan. Bhutan can be an education hub of the south of the region. Let us explore and invest in Bhutan to make it a education hub of the world. Not in that. In India has also immense competitive advantage. But if Nepal has or Bhutan has some advantages, let us explore that. So cross-border investment. There has to be. Indians are very rich now. Indians are investing across the world. India or Indian businesses can invest a good amount of money in South Asian countries, so that they build a supply chain within it. We develop a regional supply chain, just like China has made a regional supply chain with the ASEAN countries. India can build a very nice supply chain within these countries. In the sectors, India has very good strength. So cross-border investment we need to promote a lot. Entrepreneurship. We need massive amount of incubation centers or startup centers cross-border. Indians should invest more in their countries to develop incubation centers so that they also do business. The fourth and most important, I think, we need much more lawlessness and regional cooperation in the priority sectors. For example, in the education sector, there should be borderless thing. There should not be any regulatory hassles between any Indian university opening a university in Bangladesh, opening a university with Nepal or Bhutan. There should be no regulation. There should be absolute support to each other. Similarly, in the healthcare sector, if any Bangladeshi hospital doing great, they should invest, or they should be able to invest in India. They should be able to invest in Nepal or any other country. So I think I will not extend much. SARC is a failure because of the political tension. Now India has explored an alternative, or the countries are exploring an alternative that is called BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC is minus SARC and Cambodia and Vietnam, and I think there's a couple of countries. So that is a much better region because Pakistan economically doesn't bring much advantage to India. So even if we minus India minuses or South Asia minuses Pakistan and includes one or two countries, they can do a very good regional integration and regional development in the region. But I don't know. The issue is the political. Now, once we resolve the political issue, I think we can do, and there will be a lot of interference of China in this entire process. We need to remove the Chinese interference, and for the sake of the development. Now, on one point, I want to make it very clear for the audience of South Asia is that any person or country or nation in the world, they should and they can close, keeping their eyes closed, blindly have faith in India than in China. India is the peacemaker of the world, not only today. In the civilizational history, India has always been a peacemaker, and India will always be. Because in last 70 years, if there is any nation or any nation in the world which has sacrificed and lost lands to its neighbor, it is India. Take 1 inch of land from China, you will be wiped out from the history. But India voluntarily donated lands to Bangladesh, donated lands to others. Despite this, people should not view India as a big brother. Believe me, it's a democratic setup, democratic country. You will have much more space in keeping your voice in India. See the way India supported Bangladesh, India supported other neighboring countries when they were struggling a lot in the history. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Ankit, do you want to ask anything?
I just wanted to, ask Mr. Akram that, when we say that India is a big brother and India has donated and supported a lot of countries, are these countries accepting that we have supporting those countries? Because we just see from our media that we are doing all those things, but we never see that there is any statement from Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or Bhutan that India supported us the way we can, and they're like big brothers, and we would like to welcome India and all this stuff, because that's what it's a perception. I don't know. Because I don't know what's happening on the other side of the border. But I just
Yes.
wanted to know that if you have questions, if you have any facts about that, please share that as well.
Yes, that is the point I just want to add. In that situation, I believe because dialogue is ultimately the way of solution. We have to arrange more dialogue like this, like from India, even Pakistan, even Bangladesh, even Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, even Afghanistan. We have to bring more people, more politicians, more policymakers, and we have to arrange more dialogue. Then I think if we have a scientific dialogue, our problems and other things, cultural barriers, other things will be removed. This is my understanding. But I have a specific question to Dr. Shekhars, that you are working with the mega projects and this kind of things. But when country like example India or Bangladesh, even Pakistan, even South Asia, when they do any kind of mega project, even government also claim, even we see many mega project has lot of corruptions, political scamming, many more things. How we can reduce this kind of corruptions and from these mega projects in South Asia? What your advice? Because you are very experienced to doing this kind of things.
See, corruption is many times on the mindset. Okay. By that, definitely, I'm not saying corruption is not there. Many times, whenever people like me have gone to the bottom, we find that many middlemen come and create the world that XYZ is asking. And then it is something. Then once you go to the person is not even aware that some such thing is being done. So first of all, for avoiding corruption, don't encourage corruption. Okay. People believe that if I don't pay, I don't get the order. You will get the next order. Because there are even in this corrupt world, whatever we call, it is only 10% people who are corrupt. But the way it is spread, because they are sitting in the key places. As I said, I'm not definitely saying there's no corruption. So if you say no, you get into something where you will get the order. Second is, for corruption to be avoided, ensure that first of all, the project is right. Who is paying money? The person who is not capable of doing. That is, again, certain percentage. Certain percentage, highly capable people also are made to pay. But the percentage is low. majority of the people who are paying are people who do not either come in line for the minimal requirements, or who are very low in their capabilities, either money wise or technology wise or this way. So try to first of all encourage people who are really good. You would automatically get into a different world. But we definitely cannot, start whitewashing the world. World will always consist of, even the so-called most non-corrupt countries have corruption, and corrupt countries have little more corruption. It should be kept as a small, a barking dog on the way. Do you stop going just because the dog is barking on the way? You definitely try to go. So show your, like even the other gentleman was asking about his company, the data and all. We have to show our entrepreneurship, enterprise of an entrepreneur, how to jump out of the barking dog. Barking dogs will always come whatever we try to achieve. When I said I had 300 products, means I had 3,000 problems. But while doing that, I showed whatever I could see from my entrepreneurship. That means how do I jump to the next order? How do I get to my many of my products where, in fact, the moment it is launched in India, it used to be reflected in USA, Japan, and Germany. I used to get the TV shows like this, saying that I saw about your product in our TV. Can you give me little more inside? So be very clear that if you are good, if you are this thing, have patience. It will really hit the chord. And show your entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, again, I repeat, is you have to be result oriented. You have to be result oriented. You look at the success story of whether it is Bill Gates or whether it is Facebook person or whether it is Twitter or this thing. They were all nobody 10 years back, 15 years back. And they showed their guts that they will somehow succeed. See the same thing in sports. See the same thing in entertainment. So if I am not able to do what I want to do, then I should look inward rather than blaming the system. Because system will always consist of, you see a religious person of any religion. There's a bad, there's a good. You see in any social environment, there's bad, there's good. Even in entrepreneurship, let me tell you, even among the inventors, there are cases where people say that this fellow has plagiarized. And then there's a huge fight going on. So let us not dream of a world of only good people, which somebody like me would like to see it that way. Somebody like you also would like to see. But we have to come across, have to jump the gun, and we have to achieve our results. And doing that, do not make any compromises or do not make major compromises. Putting a biscuit to your dog and going across a barking dog is not a corruption, in my opinion. Okay. But definitely, trying to make some percentage of your product to some politician to get the order is definitely not to be done. Okay. And maybe I do not know whether I answered your question, but
Yes,
that's
thank
the way
you.
we have to be. We cannot
Thank you.
simply dream of a world, any part of the world. Japanese 4 prime ministers or 3 prime ministers left. The amount of corruption was more than many of the countries' GDPs. Japan, which is supposed to be the cleanest country, you see around 80s, 90s, 3 prime ministers were dismissed because of corruption. South Korea, the prime minister is dismissed. That to a lady prime minister. South Korea is supposed to be one of the cleanest countries in the world, and she is dismissed for a huge bribe. Okay, so let us not brand anything as we are developing countries, so we are corrupt, and developed countries don't have corruption. The degree is different. Sometimes in developing countries, it is hitting at the bottom. The fellow demands a few pence to give you a small item to a baby's food, which is not correct, which we should all strike. And other than that, we have to swim out. We cannot have a unified solution, but we have to have our mindset to say that we will not do this. Please be assured, projects will come and you will get commercial results.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shekhar. I directly want to go to Mr. Akram. Can you give us the concluding remark about these sessions and the special economical aspect of South Asia?
Thank you. You have given me a big task. I think Ankit should have done that. But I'll come to Ankit's question that he made regarding that. Despite giving so much, why do our neighbors see us as we are not giving them enough? So the first problem with that is that there is a huge amount of lobbying, by other big superpowers. For example, just see, Afghanistan has never gone to anyone to fight. But see, Afghanistan since last 30 years are fighting with foreign invaders. Similarly, China or any other superpower, I'm not taking any name. China is putting immense amount of money, and they are putting money in media, they are putting money in civil society, they are putting money in the education sector, so that there is a anti-India sentiment in the neighboring countries. They are putting huge amount of money, and for you have to also see that you know this help is okay, but every economy needs money. So when suppose Bangladesh gets a huge amount of money from China, or Sri Lanka gets huge amount of money investment from China, or Nepal gets it, definitely there will be some kind of attraction to it. We are not able to invest enough amount of money like the way China is doing, or the thing. So that's one. So these are two reasons basically why this. So on the other hand, we are not doing enough amount of marketing of the support and help that we are doing to our neighboring countries. So we should also invest enough in terms of making the people, common people and politicians of the country understand that okay, India is your brother. We are here to help you and support you, and we are doing it. Second point about the corruption that you asked to Dr. Shekhar, I partially agree with Dr. Shekhar that corruption is everywhere in the across the world. But the example of Japan and South Korea is that they have the guts and power to fire prime ministers for corruption cases. But this is not possible in many other countries. That's one. The second important point that I want to say is that corruption hurts the poor the most. Corruption doesn't hurt the rich, because the rich corrupts the politicians, or bureaucrats or the people for not for their livelihood. But remember and just imagine when a poor woman is raped by some politicians or by some culprits, and the poor women will have to sell her jewelry to prove that she is innocent and she needs justice. That is the amount of shame of corruption that often people, or when a poor mother of 80 years needs some transplantation or body, some disease, and he or she goes to a government hospital, and they have to corrupt the doctor or the hospital guard or hospital people for the treatment that they deserve from the country they live in. That is the corruption which hurts the most. And we have shameless people in South Asia, and this shamelessness is not there in Europe. But we do have this shameless attitude in countries like India, that the guards, the lower level clerks do take bribe to provide the basic rights of the civilization, or citizen of the country. So this is the corruption. Now, I want to come to the direct end of our, since Dr. Sharif gave me a huge task of concluding this section. What is an ideal society? An ideal society is where there is no exploitation. Exploitation of economic sense or economic mean, exploitation of the social nature, exploitation of the political nature, or exploitation in all possible sphere of life. In an exploitation-less society does not like a democracy or socialism or communism does not guarantee the end of exploitation. We can't say that we have democracy, hence we are better than communist countries or we are better than socialist countries. Exploitation happens everywhere. So I think the main point that I want to go, that the societies will have to educate their kid to compromise or to understand the differences between need and greed. As long as we will have greed sustaining in the society, we can never have corruption free or peaceful society in the world. Greed is the biggest enemy of mankind. You see, animals do not have greed, and that's why they can live peacefully, and they have a very natural system. Human being has given a mind, a brilliant mind and a brain, but when we utilize this to meet our greed, and I say a very nice word on this, that a greedy person, if he has the half of the world or the entire world, we can't meet his expectation. So greed of a person cannot be made by all the resources of the world, but need of all the people living in the society can be made by the resources of the world, because we have that amount in our amount. So first of all, the society that we are building, we need to create a sense of responsibilityness, or sense of responsibility in nature, that kindly understand the difference between need and greed, and focus on your need than greed. You need a car, you don't need a Mercedes car for your life. The moment you aspire, so you do aspire, there's no, but the moment you do, that becomes your greed, that becomes an exploitative thing. You do all the negative means for that. So this is the main point I want to focus. I don't know how people will understand this, but we need to fight greed and we need to focus. The second important thing, we need to be really honest people. Believe me, when people are honest, they don't hurt each other. When people don't hurt each other at any level, the society that we build together is absolutely brilliant. So I think these are a couple of points. I don't want to extend it. So communism, capitalism, socialism, all this makes no sense. What we need to inculcate in our kids in the coming generation is the value system, the meaning of life, the curse of greed, the value of being honest in the society. If we can develop this basic instincts, I think we can make a brilliant, beautiful country, beautiful region, and beautiful world for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ankit, I want your final thoughts about this economical session, especially South Asia.
No, so I agree with Mr. Akram and Mr. Shekhar, but it's just that we need to balance a lot of things. But because balancing of life is more important, and that is also you have to balance your relation with your neighbors. You can't change your neighbors, but you can have more allies with different countries, because now the world is all technology-based world, and you can have multiple ways to make sure that how you can help your neighbors and how you can share the best practices, and that's what helps in preparing the next future generation. People, if we train them, because we have talked about a lot of things, but we missed an important point, which is called skills, and we have to focus on skills. Then only we'll be able to grow as a society, because we can educate, we can create infrastructure, we can do whatever we can do with the money and with the people and time, but we have to develop those skills which is required for future workforce. Because during the pandemic, we have realized that there are a lot of people who are educated but they're not skillful. And that's what we are struggling right now, I think, and that is more important. And I would like to see Sharif. Maybe we can discuss about how skill economics can become a game changer in future. Maybe because once we have people with multiple skills in different domains, definitely we can achieve anything. And that's what I think we should look forward as this.
Thank you, Mr. Ankit. Dr. Shekhar, your final thoughts about this session.
You see, in terms of final thoughts, we have to be positive in our approach. Just like Akram said, that one thing is to do something and one thing is to be seen to be doing something. So whenever we are positive, we need to tell the world that we are doing X, Y, Z with our heart. That is for all the countries, not only India, because we do have a little feeling of an elder brother, but that doesn't mean that we feel we own others. Others have got their own full liberty and full way forward. But the synergy comes by seeing what is the final objective on a micro level. One thing is to give big talks. Even I do give talks to heads of countries also. But second is we go to a microscopic level. Suppose again I give the example of a toy. How a toy is made and who can make what. Just like Akram said, is the education something good in Bhutan, something good in Bangladesh? We should all encourage it. We should not feel as if it's some competition. Because many things are need-based. And when there's a competition, when the demand is far less compared to the production, okay, then there is. So those things we should avoid. So for economic growth of all, we have to segregate those which are good for all, needed by all, and like the way you started the thing in terms of technology has to keep on bringing something new. Because in an idealistic society, suppose I make a TV which will last for 100 years. I'll make a fan which will last for 200 years. I'll make a computer which will last. Then there'll be no demand. Everything has to have a lifetime, which I said in the beginning. Then only the economy will grow. Economy grows by the money which is in my pocket goes to you today afternoon, by today evening it goes to somebody else. Then only it will go. All these things we have to we have to keep in mind. We should not look for many people say, oh, I want to retire at 35. I want to generate enough money in 35. I many times start wondering what will he do? He will commit suicide if nothing is to be done by him or her. Same way, we have to get a proper. That's why that we started off with the techno-economic. How technical things will come, they will keep on evaporating. New technical things will come, and they are needed for economic growth. So for that, one has to plan. And at the same time, I do not believe in blaming politicians. After politicians are made by all of us, we are in all the countries, whether it is XYZ country. So we have to see what is around us, what we can contribute, what we can give, what we can keep the structure around us clean. I cannot whitewash the world on any account, whatever be my thoughts. So I try to always spread that goodwill around me, and I'm now 66 and I'm a happy person.
Thank
I
you.
have not seen a dull.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. This is actually a very nice
Happiness is
discussion.
more important than anything else. I mean, if people are happy around the world, I think we can achieve anything. Satisfaction and happiness is something that gives a lot of joy.
Yes, thank you. This is actually very nice discussion in terms of economics, and especially it's a South Asian economy, because South Asian, I think 1/3 of the population live in South Asia, and it's a huge potentiality it has, and it has a. I believe that this economy is like 100 years they are actually rich, but somehow we do not have proper collaborations. Maybe we do not have proper politicals influence, or we do not have proper relationship, and many ways actually South Asian economy in many ways actually I want to say it's go to the negative, but we have a chance. This is the COVID situation. There is a huge potentiality. We can work together, we can grow together, and we can create better economic systems, and with our scientific dialogue, with our scientific discussions. And IBM TV always believe in scientific dialogue, scientific discussions. So I welcome to everyone and around the world to join the IBM TV and do the better work together. Hopefully your knowledge, hopefully your experience and your technology, your policy can make a better ecosystem, and we can do a better worlds, and we can develop our better worlds, and we can do lot of things together. Thank you, Mr. Ankit, thank you, Dr. Shekhars, and thank you, Mr. Akram, for your valuable time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.